More than 9 decades of serving the nation. Central Board of Irrigation and Power.
So what we have in common with these three things?
Final objective to transmit electricity.
Yes, that is for some way of artificially transmitting. But in general, the common thing is it is everywhere electricity, or you may call it electromagnetism. So how is that? Because this, as you know, our today topic is that, but that is everything we have in our human body as well. So how is that? It is the, yes, please. Yes, please. Yes, please. So it is the electrical signal that we capture through different instruments from our body when we are particularly not well, and that in turn gives whether that particular organ or it is functioning rightly or not. So how is that? That the doctors tend to do for the, what do you call it, electrocardiogram. That's a, yes, ECG, that they tend to get the electrical signal from that. There is definitely this technique for that. The same thing applies when we have something in our stomach, that is called electrogastogram. The same electrical pulse is captured and we see how they are functioning well or not. When it's applied through your brain, it is called
MRI.
No, EEG, electroencephalograph, from where you capture the brain waves. There are different type of brain waves, and waves are just like beta, alpha, gamma, theta, delta, like that. What's more, suppose you have something in your eyes. There is a process, there is a thing called electrocorticograph, ECOG, right? Something in your muscle, that is called electromyograph. So same way that electricity is captured, the potential, and that is compared with some baseline to see whether there is the function, the particular organ is doing their function rightly or not. So that's, yes, that's common in everywhere, and in the nature also. What do we see? So who is credited with first this detection of this? It is few hundred years, maybe 200 years back, or more than that. That's a gentleman called Benjamin Franklin. He just captured through the nature, and he find out, yes, that cloud contains the electricity. So electricity is everywhere in the nature, and that is sometimes static electricity or something like that. When in earlier times, maybe for a few hundred years, when the ships used to travel, and the mast of that ship tend to capture the static electricity, and that is decoded as cell Elmos fire, something like that. And same thing, something when it strikes onto the that lightning stroke, and for which we get different kind of shock and sometimes sudden death, or unfortunately. So these are the things. So that is the thing which is common everywhere. It is subject everything, and your brain also, and in nature also, something like that. Interestingly, we all know that there is a magnetic field of this Earth, and that is due to what? The magnetic field is caused due to the movement of the molten in the core of the Earth, molten iron, and that gives rise to this magnetic field, and that is called magnetosphere or something like that. So this way, there is a very good connection with the topic you are learning today, and there is very direct correlation with that. So only thing, when we artificially transmit that through some kind of medium, that is, it is called as what? Power frequency electrical transmission. But in general, it is having very good, synchronized rule for that, and how it is that. So we tend to do that. So this is a picture of that. It is what we call it a corona. So if we close up in this figure, we see that it is this close-up conductor as well as exceptional weather condition. How it looks, because of the, as we know what corona is, actually this ionization of the gas. Yes, and that gives some kind of thing. So basically, only thing that in nature, normally it is a static electricity everywhere, but when you transmit it, and there is a component comes into the picture, that is power frequency, depending on that what frequency you are going to transmit, maybe 50 hertz or 60 hertz. So may I ask you, for a 50 hertz, this transmission, this system, what is the wavelength? We have both two frequencies, isn't it? 50 hertz and 60 hertz. So if it is 50 hertz, what is the wavelength? No, not coming. Just capture it. It's very easy. It is 5,000 kilometers. And for a 60 hertz, it is something 6,000 kilometers, something like that. Simply divide by the speed of light, because when the electricity travels, it is as good as it attains the waves from the speed of light. And who detected that? That is again more than 150 years back, when a gentleman in England, Scotland, his name was Michael Faraday, and he just saw, in the Cambridge University, there is a great hall, legacy or traditional hall, where many stalwarts, they have given introduction for their presentation, for their invention, discoveries, what it is. And he saw first that in terms of when there's electricity, the magnetic needle moves. And that is the first step towards the broader spectrum of this electricity. After some years, it was James Clerk Maxwell who first, what he did, he saw that classical theory of electromagnetic field. That means electricity and magnetism, they are interconnected. And what he saw, maybe he was about to fall down from his chair, that light is nothing but electromagnetic waves. So these are the things, and this Maxwell is credited with enormously in the field of this electromagnetism. What for? Because he is the first person whose this presentation, that electromagnetic field theory, actually that is having a very practical application. And today what we see, everywhere that is there, electromagnetic field theory. And for that, because electricity and magnetism, they are like, whatever it is, brothers and sisters like that. And everywhere that is here. And even what he was saying, that MRI, what is MRI? Again, that is of electromagnetism. How is that? That in this enclosure, in this apparatus where this MRI is done, it is based on what? It is called NMR, nuclear magnetic resonance. What's that? That means that for this, our blood, basically our body is full of a significant amount proportion of water. And what's that? In the nucleus, there are protons. And those protons tend to rotate and tend to get aligned with the electromagnetic field. So what's that? When in a magnetic field, in an MRI machine, magnetic resonance imagery, and what's that? Then what happens? That they tend to provide a radio frequency, and they tend to see how these protons aligned with that particular environment. And what happens in there? When they did, it just tried to, it is called the T2 relaxation. Spin relaxation, or lateral and transverse magnetization. And based on that, when the radio waves get deflected from the body, and depending on the time travels and time taken, they tend to provide some kind of image. And what is that image? Normal to our image are like that, what we call pixel, right? That element, picture element. Similar to that, in MRI, what we get, it is an image that called voxel. Was that volume element? So depending on that, there are different type of synchronization, time synchronization, and it is called the T1 time sequence or T2 time sequence. And depending on that, what it does, that different parts of that, our structures of the body, it gives different colors. It may be black and white, and depending on T1 relaxation or T2 relaxation. So again, that is electromagnetism. So your subject is very interesting. And when we are aware of that, this electromagnetism, they tend to observe some rules, because this Maxwell is having how many? 4 rules or theories. and we tend to do something for the broader application. So everywhere there is a practical thing, something like that. And at this setting, we will try to learn what are the implications of this, what we are speaking about electromagnetism, how it takes place, and how we can do that. Because for this reason, our civilization has got a tremendous breakthrough for number of reasons. So that's the solar wind in the Earth magnetosphere. What happens that the sun rays, when tend to provide that rays, it provides number of these dangerous particles. Only the visible lights that belongs to a particular this frequency that comes onto Earth, and our eyes are also aligned in that. So that is the practical part. And in case of it is not there, then we could have something different. And if we see that is the magnetic field, you get, depending on north and south pole. And very interestingly, for every certain amount of years, the magnetic north and south tend to interchange. So earlier it was south, now north, and maybe after some, maybe lakhs of years later on, it will change, go to and something differently again. So that is there. So in this setting, we'll start, and that's a quick simulation how it looks like. See, that is there. Only thing we can't see the field lines, because those field lines, they are not always, at right angle or straight, something like that. Those are curved. Even when Einstein discovered his theory of relativity, he said that what I have seen, it is something standing on the shoulder of the giants. And he credited this Maxwell tremendously. It is because of this Maxwell situation that it no longer, earlier what happened, all these theories, everything, those were on papers. But this theory, James Clerk Maxwell, from whom this has come into the picture, that it is not only for theories, but it has a real world application. And similarly, so many fields that have given something like that. Right. So from where even the migratory birds, how they come from Siberia to our country and something like that, it is because of this magnetic field. Because it is believed now that they have something in their nervous system, they could detect the magnetic field and magnetic directions, precisely north and south, and that's why they comes together thousands of kilometers away from. And after that, again, when the temperature improves, they go back. That's the reason. So today's topic is that survey and profiling, foundation towers, and this critical checkpoints, stringing operation, and some input from the design aspects, that input assumption and design parameters that we would like to see and later.